Who knows what GFG stands for? Go for gold? Yourself? Gift from God. Two founders of GFG were both named Jonathan, and Jonathan in Hebrew is gift from God. So today I'm going to talk to you about GFG and our activities in Timmins, but also our assets in Wyoming, and a little bit on the history of where we came from. Caution, I'm a geologist, I'm an explorationist, I'm an optimist. I think we're all here looking to make money. I will make forward-looking statements, and I would point you to this cautionary statement. When we set up GFG, we set ourselves up as district-scale explorers, and our focus is in Timmins. We're a team that's found mines before, built mines, operated. Most of our executive team has been in the business for about 20 years. We formerly ran a company called Claude Resources in Saskatchewan. It was a producer. We sold it into SSR in a very good transaction back in 2015. And GFG was the company we formed and started after that. We're district-scale consolidators. We're not generators per se from a model perspective or a strategy perspective. We put the dollars into the ground. We explore it ourselves. We take it forward, looking in world-class belts at world-class style systems. And I think Timmins is one of those that is truly unique in the world. And what I'm going to show you is a very well-endowed piece of crust. Aggressive and disruptive. We're looking undercover. We're looking in belts that have big ore bodies, and we're trying to look at data and exploration models differently. Our mission, obviously, is to find the next greatest Timmins gold mine. Bit of a corporate snapshot here. We're about a 25 million market cap company. Post-closing our financing, which we closed 2 weeks ago, we have about $3.2 million in the bank, so reasonably well-financed going through this year. Strong shareholder base. Alamos would be our largest shareholder at 9.9%. The Lundin family and other institutional ownership there would constitute about 17%. Insiders would own about 5%. I think it's 4 on there. And I've always participated through those financing. Myself is included in that. Other would be other corporates. And we have several high net worth individuals that would own in sort of 5 to 10%. So some pretty chunky shareholders on that front. The team, myself, Rick, Mark, and Anders, we're all ex-Claude. We're based in Saskatoon. And we've been part of both discoveries and producers before. Very proud of our board of directors as well. Some really seasoned veterans of the space. Patrick Downey and Brian Booth have both been involved in multiple transactions, building mines, discovering them, and a very good successful track record in the space. So some of my previous speakers and the introducers and the macro thesis have talked about maybe why gold, why now, and the rationale to be in it. So I'm going to touch base a little bit more on why exploration. And this graph shows the discovery trend on about a 35-year plan. And what you can see is, there's still relative dollars going in the ground is pretty high. That's the red line. That's dollars in the ground each year globally. And it goes up to about 2020, that chart, but the trend hasn't really changed since then. The yellow bars on the bottom are how many ounces of gold are found per year. And you can see that each year we're finding less and less gold. Discovery costs have gone up. I think this is reflected in many of the strategies, the companies you see these days. The majors are growing through acquisition. They're not growing through discoveries. So what does this translate to? Discoveries are really unique in this time. And I think you really have to be careful about picking the teams and looking at their strategies and those that make discoveries. People that have made discoveries often make other ones. People that are working in big belts and big systems often have good strategies for outlining the next system. So what is GFG doing differently? We took a belt like Timmins. We understand its exploration path. We put 800 square kilometers of ground together in a belt that's been in production since 1930. We are the largest landholder in one of the best world-class belts in Timmins. We're looking undercover. We think there's more big ore bodies to be found in a relatively shallow setting in Timmins yet, above 200 meters. We think we can still make relative discoveries in this camp after a mining history of about 90 years here. So I think Timmins is a great place to find the next ore body. I think it's also a place where there's lots of existing infrastructure. So finding 500,000 or 1 million or 2 million ounces, that reaches the economic threshold in this camp. So we're a successful team. I think betting in this space, you're betting on people. And GFG is one of those groups that I think has a very strong chance to make world-class discovery. This is a map of Timmins. It's about 150 kilometers across. In that map is 150 million ounces of gold, historic production, current reserves and resources. So Per square kilometer, it's one of the most well-endowed pieces of crust in the world. Lots of infrastructure, lots of investment. IAMGOLD spending $1.5 billion building Côté. You can look at the Borden mine. Some of the mines of Alamos Gold are in this map. So it's a great place from an endowment perspective. It's a great place from an infrastructure perspective. There's 7 mills on that map. There's 3 discoveries. Côté, Trelawney, Probe made the Borden discovery, and Lakeshore made the Timmins West discovery. Those were all found in the last 20 years. And those are all relevant discoveries that have evolved into 2, 5, and 10 million ounce systems. So this is why we picked Timmins to go to. We control the area in red. There's 3 property blocks. They might look small on that map. They're 800 square kilometers. So they are huge land positions, and we are second only to Newmont in the land holdings in the Timmins area. We're active, and we've been active through this whole last cycle of 5 years in Timmins. Here's a 2-year graph of our news releases. Many of those are really strong economic hits, 20, 50, 80, 100, 150 gram meter product intervals that we've put out here. So we are building value through the drill bit in the Timmins, and this demonstrates our level of activity over the last 24 months. Geologically, we started on the left 2 years ago, a really simplistic model of some of the historic drilling, but we saw a system that was about 1 kilometer in strike extent. We saw something that wasn't understood historically very well by the previous operator. We grew it over the last couple of years, and the section on the right shows a mineral envelope that looks quite interesting. A near surface deposit outlined in yellow there. You can see some of the drill intercepts. That's all above 150 meters depth. There's a nice shear system at depth. Dips about 60 degrees, and we've chased that for about 400 meters on dip, and it remains open. I'm going to show you some of these details, but good continuity and a growing, robust gold system. In plan view, you see it there. We've drilled about a 600-meter strike extent. The cross-section that we showed you on the previous slide is sectioned right through that map, and we show you some of the drill intercepts on the left between the main zone, the upper footwall zone, and the lower footwall zone. Those are the 3 lenses with which we're currently defining at present. We drilled this over a strike length of about 1.2 kilometers now, and really, really fantastic looking results. The deepest hole is about 350 meters vertical, and I'm going to show you that in a subsequent slide here. Here you go. The last hole on the bottom right there was drilled in Q4 of last year. 5 grams over about 13 meters. There's a nice compact 10-gram subinterval to that. Deepest hole, it remains open. The slides on the left show you it's not a high nugget effect system, so it's not 100 gram and then 2 grams, and then 5 grams, and then 50 grams. It's pretty consistent. 2 to 20 grams, that's really classic in Timmins. So a nice, reliable ore body, and what we show you on the section is something that demonstrates some pretty good continuity. Step change in geology. The last hole changed a little bit. It thickened up. It's got a nice broad alteration envelope, and the hanging wall rock changed from being a felsic volcanic into a mafic volcanic. These are all good things for gold. You want to see changes, you want to see intense structures, you want to see lots of alteration, and that's what we're seeing in the deepest holes to drill to date here. That was Montclair. If we migrate 30 kilometers across our land position east of Timmins, we end up at Aljo. It's a historic mine that was active in the 20s and 30s. We show you some of the infrastructure projected to surface there, and we've drilled about 11 holes in this to date. I would flag one hole that we drilled in Q4 of last year, hole 4. And just really intriguing. It hit the workings down at 200 meters of the old mine, which is interesting because you don't always know how deep the old timers went. In this case, it went a little deeper than we thought. So we hit the workings, which is disappointing. But we actually hit 3 veins in the hanging wall and 2 veins in the footwall, and each of those had greater than 10 grams to them. This is a stacked vein system. Grades were all very strong there. We're seeing lots of 10 to 20 gram material, 1 to 4 meter thicknesses. So this is a really interesting target. We're going to follow up that drill intercept with drilling here in Q2, and this will be the first place we step off drilling. Lots of visible gold logged through the core here, so metallurgy in this case looks pretty positive for the Aljo setting. Going back to the other portfolio projects, these are earlier stage at Pen and Doré, west of Timmins. So the central part would host the Timmins mine complexes of Newmont and Pan American. Newmont Borden's asset would be west of us, and Côté would be immediately south of us. But Pen and Doré are earlier stage properties. These are about 600 square kilometers. They're huge. early stage assets, drill-ready targets that we have on these. They're not the top of our pipeline, but there's certainly a good pipeline of targets we have on each of those, and we plan to drill test some at Dore this year as well. We'll put about 30% of our exploration budget into those 2 projects this year. What are we going to spend? About $2.7 million in the ground in Timmins, drilling 6,000 to 7,000 meters. I think we can advance Aljo and Montclair towards scale and resource, and really like to see these things grow and start approaching the 1 million ounce scale. I think that's what it takes to start seeing an economic size deposit in this camp. So we're doing the modeling, doing some metallurgical work, and continuing to build the pipeline across the entire land position. So the focus in the ground is truly on Timmins. We have a secondary asset called Rattlesnake Hills, and it's Wyoming. It's a large alkaline gold district, similar to things like Cripple Creek and the Wharf Mine. These are large productive systems. There's about 100,000 meters of drilling on this deposit. Snow 43-101 resource. GFG went public on this asset back in 2016. You can see a cross-section through there. There's 2 deposits. We explored this for a couple of years. We found it interesting, but we really wanted to pivot back to Timmins to sort of systems we're more familiar with. We optioned this to Newcrest. Newcrest drilled it for about 2 years, and they drilled some exceptionally deep holes looking for a porphyry underneath here. They didn't find a porphyry. They did find some interesting rocks, but they turned it back to us. So we've ran a process, and we're in the process of moving this and selling this asset. It's non-core to us. It's an interesting asset for the right party, so I hope to be able to bring something back to the market in the short term about what we might do with this asset. I'd love to find the right party, own some equity in them, and take some cash out of it, and build their balance sheet up to keep investing in Timmins. So why invest in GFG? Here you have a highly credible team, district scale assets in Timmins, one of the most productive belts in the world, good strong catalyst stream, a balance sheet that's strong, good backers, Alamos, Lundin family, good institutional holding, insiders that own a fair bit of equity as well. Good strong ability to finance. So I think that's key in this market, is to keep active, keep drilling, and keep moving it into the ground. We're efficient. Our G&A is about $1 million a year, and everything else is going into the ground. And I think that's what you want to find in teams that give you the best chance of exploration success. So I think you get a great opportunity to find the next Timmins gold mine with GFG, and we're a well-funded exploration vehicle with a really catalyst-rich 2024. So I thank you for that, and happy to take any questions you may have.
Brian, let me kick off with a question. Where do you want the company to be by the end of the year? Assuming everything goes to plan, you have a bit of luck.
I'd like to have streamlined the portfolio. I'd like to improve the balance sheet. Execute the drill plan, drill 7,000 to 8,000 meters. If we can put out 4 or 5 news releases on the back of that through the year. I think Aljo and Montclair are quite key in demonstrating continuity to those. Are we going to get to a resource by year end? Unlikely. But I want to be able to show the scope and scale to get this thing to 1 million plus ounces, and at least be able to talk towards that as a target going forward. So if you wound us through the end of this year, I'd love to see a materially improved share price from the 8 or 9 or 10 cents we're at right now. But that's partly the sector that we're in. But I think if you look, there's good catalysts, a good drill program, and a simplified portfolio and a stronger balance sheet is what you're going to see.
Okay. Any questions from the floor? Okay, well, I've got another one. Wyoming, Rattlesnake, you said you want to sort of monetize that. Wyoming seems to be getting increasing interest from a number of gold companies. Yes. Well, why is Wyoming coming into play?
There's a couple of peers in Wyoming that are doing a great job. Relevant Gold is one of them. US Gold is the other one. So there's really only 3 gold systems active in Wyoming. I think Wyoming's an interesting place. You can build a mine there. There's a good system. It's a bit off the radar. It's not Nevada. It's not Idaho. So most people don't go looking for gold in Wyoming. But they are the right age rocks. And if you look for gold, you want to look at some of these Archean age rocks. And Wyoming has that age of rocks. And superimposed on that is some really younger rocks that are more Eocene age, like things like the Wharf Mine and Cripple Creek. So also a big gold event. So it's got the right age rocks. It's got a right age and the right style of jurisdiction to build a mine and to operate. So I think those are key things. In the end, it's in a good, safe jurisdiction. It's in the U.S., and it's a place you could build a mine, and it's got the right rocks. So I think those are the reasons why you hear a Wyoming a little bit more, and the lateral effect is you probably hear it through the uranium space.
Well, nickel as well.
And nickel side. So most people will know Wyoming for either coal, oil and gas, or Wyoming or cattle. And those are all good things that are doing very well these days.
Excellent. Well, I wish you the best of luck with that. Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.